I'm ravished.
You will be in a few minutes.
No.
Are you trying to say famished? You don't know how this works.
Ooh.
Hello everyone and welcome back to part 3/4, maybe 5. We're not quite sure. We've given up. Congratulations to everyone who actually sat through videos number 1 and 2 and did not fall asleep, because to be quite frank, we didn't. We kind of fell asleep during those. So,
No, I did. It's boring to me.
The good news is, for the continuation of this little series, we're not going to be doing the voiceover stuff because there's not as much. Previously, I was kind of showing you end to end what it was like to put together that kit. Now we're just going to go into kind of showing you what I did, because going forward there are no more instruction manuals. What I purchased from Maker Store was a mechanical kit. So what you saw assembled was it. Here on out, I'm on my own. Technically, I could have bought the electronics from them. I could have bought the drag chains from them. And even then, the manuals don't really include exact step-by-step instructions. It's like, hey, this is kind of the way you can go. So I looked at getting drag chains from Maker Store, and the shipping was darn near as much as the parts. So I wound up getting something from Amazon. When it came to the bracket for mounting our Z-axis, I looked at getting it from them, thinking, okay, it's not as big, shipping won't be that bad. Still, shipping was almost as much as the part was, so I wound up buying that from Amazon. Now, the switches, the limit switches that I installed, I actually got those from Maker Store. I had a credit from the issues that we had, so it was actually cheaper for me to go ahead and just order these from Amazon. Order these from them, because Amazon, quite frankly, didn't have something similar to what I was looking for here. So theirs made the most sense, and I did wind up getting that kit from them. So let me give you an idea of what we did to get this machine working since you last saw that last video. Okay, so the way I set mine up, I wound up with 2 drag chains. Basically, we've got one over here on this side, and the drag chain is just
Vanna White.
So your drag chain is nothing more than a plastic caged assembly for holding the wires so they don't get jumbled up inside of things as it was moving. You may have seen in some of the video earlier where I was just, you saw wires hanging everywhere. That was where I was doing some of my initial test wiring. So we've got one drag chain on this side that goes in this direction to the back of the machine. And we have one on our X-axis leading down over to here. You can also see the limit switches that I installed from the Maker Store. And on this side over here, we actually have the one wire from this motor just leading up and over. So in theory, I could have put drag chains on both sides, but in my case, I just took the one wire from this side on this motor and ran it along the extrusion rail to the other side and up and out. I also put a lot of protection around these because of what we were talking about earlier with these edges being sharp. It will cut through your insulation. You can short wires out with this, so just something to keep in mind. My wiring is still ugly, and it does still need to be cleaned up because right now everything is just sitting on the table. So I need to get in here and get this part rebuilt correctly. But yes, this is one of the limit switches in the back side. So we've got 2 limit switches on the back. We have a limit switch here and a limit switch here. The limit switches are the maximum in the out direction, for lack of a better word. Your inner direction are your home switches. So we basically have one home switch down here, one home switch on that side, and a pair of home switches up on the front as well. Technically, I really only needed one home and limit on the Y, but just in case something weird happens, I went ahead and doubled them up. That way we would have if one hits before the other, it will still go ahead and kick the system off. I am also using soft limits, so that isn't as important, but they're still there as an emergency backup. As you can see here, we've got like the wires, we have a flex so that As our Z-axis goes up and down, we've got plenty of room for this to move in the cables. My spindle is actually connected into an old drop cord that was just cut up. It came free with the house, so this was actually just an old drop cord that came free, including paint. Since we actually had some extra parts that came along with the system that weren't actually needed, I was able to use some of the extra brackets with the extra 20 by 60 that had the screw broken off into it. And we actually made this a place for this drag chain to sit. Technically, your drag chain is sort of self-supporting, but I don't really like to do that. I don't trust it that much. So in this case, it actually is just sitting on top of this 20 by 60. It also gave me a place to run some of the wiring down the system. The way the drag chains are attached is just simply a bolt into a T-nut into the extrusion rail. That's how these are locked down. The one up top only has one bolt because it's a 20, and these are basically 40 wide. So if I had a 40 up here, I'd actually be able to use this second bolt. In my case, the other end of this drag chain is just held in with tie wraps and a double-sided foam tape to help make it stick. But that's all that is holding this in, and so far it is doing perfectly fine. You may notice that the system is now sitting in a completely different part of the basement. So I did have to move the table to where I was planning on it going permanently. And to do this, I wanted to make sure nothing fell. So I actually purchased some of the same brackets that we were using to hold the machine together and attached it in the four corners to the top of the workbench. So now this is basically a complete system, bolted down, stable, sturdy, not going to move. As long as the bench is stable and sturdy, the system on top of it will be as well. I do still need to add some additional bracing to the bench, just because it does have some rock to it when this thing starts really moving. But that's going to be one of my first projects as we sort of cut out a place to mount all that wiring and things like that. So we're actually going to use this machine to create some of the stuff for this machine. So to summarize everything up, once the mechanicals were built, I basically added two drag chains, one to one side, one to one side of the Y and one to the X. Ran all the wiring through and connected the home switches and the limit switches, grand total of 4 each. Ran all that back into my electronics. This was actually built beforehand. I connected all of my electronics beforehand to test them out. That's how I knew everything there was good. Then once all that wiring was done, the system was, for lack of a better word, complete. Again, I've still got some cleanup, but at this point I believe we can actually make a test run to sort of see how everything looks. So let's go ahead and see what we can do.
Hey,
Why are you here bothering me?
I'm ravishing.
Yes, yes you are.
That's not the word. I'm ravished.
You will be in a few minutes. Are you trying to say famished?
Yes. Yes.
You want to see where I'm at?
I see where you're at. You're behind the preposition.
Oh.
No, you're in a chair.
Let's just say that I might be at the point where I'm about to turn a nice, beautiful piece of wood into sawdust and misery and pain.
Wait. So you're going to make a piece of wood into another piece of wood?
So I'm still, I had to order wire so I can wire up the switches officially, but right now they are wired well enough that the home switches are working. I was thinking about making an actual test run, the very first test run on the new machine.
Well, I'm just curious, are you going to make a quiet man as a thinking man?
Well, not on this one, I don't think. This is going to be just a generic few letters to make sure it works without chewing the machine up, in theory. You want to see the process?
Well, you could make the Canva classroom.
like this is the first run. You don't make it fancy. Like the space program, before you put a man on the moon, you put an empty rocket around.
So you're going to make a line.
Or maybe a square, or maybe a letter.
Well, a line would be 4 lines. I mean, a square would be 4 lines.
Here we go. Since my other thing failed miserably, create a new file. In fact, let's shrink this down. Let's just make it a 7 by 7 by 0.75. Leave everything else the same. Okay. Shit. Keep forgetting you gotta do it here and draw it this way. We'll leave it at that. Oops. Escape. Control Z. Okay, so we got a star. So let's go to toolpath. In fact, we'll go back to the pocket toolpath. We'll go with the end mill. 0.2 inches deep. Calculate. Oh, no simple vectors are selected. Calculate.
Whoa.
Ta-da! So, close that out. Export this. Same stuff. Save toolpath. We'll make this my first cut since...
Yes.
Yeah, the other program's got it open. File. Close files. Save toolpath. Save.
No.
Yes, replace it.
That wasn't my first cut.
Oh. What did I erase something else?
Something.
Oh, that's cool. Pocket one's a test run. Anyway, so got that saved.
20 minutes in.
So, file, load.
Pocket.
Open. Okay. So in theory, this will cut a little star right there.
In theory, would be a good name.
Wait. You want safety protect?
I don't think that'd fit over my glasses.
Oh, you don't know how this works.
Why did it just start?
Because I put it between my legs and hit a button. I turned the spindle on. I was going to say the way.
Wait, you put something between your legs
and it turned on. See this? This goes over your glasses.
Look, turn around. Oh.
It just fits on your head.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I get for trying to. Man, he's scared the crap out of me.
I was like, why is it moving?
So the emergency switch is here in case I need to get to it to turn it off. I need to put some longer wires on that so that I can. Okay, I'm either going to break a bit or. Just don't touch the blue thing there because it's actually got 120 going through it. Okay, let's see if I get an error about my Z-axis or my soft limits being out of whack.
Am I in a good spot or?
Well, that depends. Do you want to be safe or do you want to get good footage?
Both?
Maybe I should just turn the other camera on for this.
Ooh, what?
There went the breaker.
Throwing breakers. Making sparks. At least he built it. I'm kind of impressed.
Either works or it doesn't. So let's just see what happens.
It needs...
You didn't think my project was gonna go anywhere, did you?
Well...
You thought I'd never finish this. Boom! How do you like me now? That was kind of cool to watch, wasn't it?
A little bit.
Just gotta go. I made a star. Yeah, that was actually the up cutting bit, which leaves it a little bit rough. The down cutting bit doesn't leave the danglies, but it doesn't blow the sawdust out as good. So that's why I went with that one.
But you could sand it.
Yeah, you sand that out. Nice and smooth feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I still got to figure out like how things line up in the program to know where to line things up and all that. And that off just in case. Okay, and since that video was made, I've been working on cleaning some things up. So the wiring has now been completely cleaned up since that test cut. And I am currently in the process of working on getting a jog wheel built into the system as well. This connects into this board for your motion controller and allows you to actually control your machine through smaller steps without having to do it through the keyboard. So that is currently what I am working on. The instructions that come with that are pretty much non-existent, so it's a lot of experimentation and figuring out the wiring diagrams and this stuff, which is not in English. So hopefully soon, next video we'll have that. I'm also going to work on smoothing down a piece of board, actually using this as a jointer. We've got the 1-inch surfacing bit just came in the mail, so that we can get that done, get a spoil board mounted onto the base, and then start getting this stuff cleaned up. So hopefully soon we'll get all of this looking more like a real machine and less like a spaghetti monster. So if you enjoyed this, please go ahead and subscribe so that you can see the next video as it comes out, and we will see you then. Have a good one.